Good evening, everyone. Um, I'm happy tonight to introduce Miss Christy Baca. You know, Christy, on top of being an adaptive swim instructor since 2013, adaptive means she teaches swim instruction for children with apraxia, cerebral palsy, dyslexia, and all type of disability. She taught one of our own, Beckham. She taught him how to swim, and she will show us videos of how she taught him, how he swims now. So I won't take more time, and the stage is yours,
Thank
Christy.
you. Thank you. So thank you so much for having me. And I am very honored to share with you my experience with Beckham and teaching him to swim. And also, I'm excited to listen to Angela, Beckham's mom, at the end of my presentation, open herself up for a few questions for you guys. I think it's important that as parents, you all get to visit with each other a minute about these things. So I'm going to get started. And just first of all, I want to talk about, sorry, give me just a minute to acclimate to my screen. Here we go. All right. Water safety instruction in for children with KAT6A is very important because KAT6A children are drawn to water. And this is something that Angela said to me when we visited about Beckham and some of the impacts that KAT6A has on him. She said water brings a feeling of relief for KAT6A children. And as soon as possible, KAT6A kiddos need water safety instruction. And I cannot echo her enough on that because of the fact that children with KAT6A do find a comfort in the water, they're going to go seeking water wherever water is. And it's really important that they have water safety skills as soon as they can. Okay, so looking at obstacles for KAT6A population in swimming, when looking at this overall, number one, I believe sometimes funding can be an obstacle for parents, depending on where they are, how much the services are, and what types of grants are available for parents. I just want to say thank you very much to the KAT6A Foundation for providing grants for swimmers this summer for my swim academy. We are very appreciative of that. Another obstacle for KAT6A population is a qualified instructor. I myself did not become adaptive swim instructor qualified until 2019. And with those certifications, I've been able to broaden my services that I can offer for different types of swimmers, including for Beckham. And I was really excited when I was able to meet Beckham and be able to use the skills I had learned in my adaptive swim certification to help Beckham learn to swim. Another obstacle that you may find in getting water safety instruction or swim instruction for your child with KAT6A is a facility. Beckham in particular has a skin condition that requires he not be in the sun too long. And so we were very fortunate to have an indoor facility where Angela brought Beckham, and Beckham and I worked together in the water there. So you'll see under the facility availability, I've listed weather, skin protection, and equipment. It's real important that when you find a qualified instructor that they have equipment that can meet the needs that KAT6A brings to the body. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So moving on, looking at swimming and how it can be a scary thing for parents. I want to ask some of you to think about if you've ever had a bigger fear than your child learning to swim, or your child maybe finding themselves in a body of water and not knowing how to swim. I want you to think about this quote that came to mind when I was visiting with Angela and we were talking about Beckham and why I am so passionate about what I do. I want to propel parents past their fear. Learning to move past our fears in parenting can expose our children to opportunities that could allow them to live beyond their limitations. And absolutely without a doubt, in talking to Angela and working with Beckham, she moved past every fear she had as a parent with a child of KAT6A. And there are some fears that I will share with you she had later on in this presentation, specifically connected to swimming. So I want to encourage you all to just remember, propel yourselves to move past that fear so that they can live beyond the limitations that they have. And now for the exciting part, because these are some really fun things that we're going to talk about. I want you to see my friend Beckham. I'm not sure how many of you guys got to meet him at the conference in March, but this is Beckham underwater. And you can see here in this picture is very intentional. There are bubbles coming out of Beckham's nose, which means he's blowing out of his nose. He's smiling, which tells me he's happy. His smile also tells me he is relaxed underwater. You can see in his eyes behind those goggles, he is just beaming with joy and he's relaxed. And this photo of Beckham was taken, I believe, 4 or 5 days into our swim instruction together. So it's a really, really special photo for me, and I'm really, really thankful I can share it with you guys. Now, moving on to Beckham. At birth, these are some things that Angela shared with me and how KAT6A impacted Beckham. Beckham was born with low muscle tone. He was born with a heart defect, a grade 2 brain bleed, hypotonia, dysmorphic facial features, an enlarged head, ears posterior rotated. And at the time of his birth, there were some tests done that ruled out Down syndrome, but they still weren't sure what Beckham had that brought about the other physical features in his body and other impacts that KAT6A did in fact have on his body. So one of the things that Beckham encountered soon after his birth, I believe it was maybe 4.5 months after he was born, he had heart surgery. And Beckham's mom shared with me that heart surgery repaired part of the heart defect that he had. But after that heart surgery, he went into another, I think it was an Angela, please correct me here if I'm wrong. He had issues after that surgery. And so they went in for a second surgery. And originally before the heart surgeries, the physicians really felt like, oh, there's Angela. Can you explain that, Angela? Happened after the first heart surgery? There were some complications after his first surgery. And overall, the physicians and Angela really thought that heart surgery would benefit Beckham to the point that it would correct the hypotonia that he was presenting at birth. But as they found out, after the second heart surgery, his hypotonia was still present. So looking at hypotonia and how it impacted Beckham, these are some things that some of you may see in your own child. There's a decreased muscle tone. Beckham had what Angela referred to as floppy quality or ragdoll appearance. His arms and legs came by their side, little or no head control. Hypotonia can affect mobility and posture. It can affect breathing and cause speech difficulties. It can also cause ligament and joint laxity and have an impact on your reflexes. So looking at Beckham's diagnosis timeline, he was not diagnosed until after his first birthday. So, and even at that time, Angela and her husband didn't really know what to do with KAT6A and Beckham. But I can tell you in spending time with Angela, she did not sit still and wring her hands. She got on the internet, she got to the library, she found all the resources she could to help Beckham with all of the things that impacted him related to KAT6A. And one of the things she did that I'm most impressed with is she found ways for Beckham to get breast milk and created a recipe of breast milk and goat's milk and helped him gain weight and really nourish his body with milk that was specific to meeting the needs of Beckham's digestive needs. And so just that alone tells me that Angela is driven to do whatever it takes for Beckham to be and do the best he can despite KAT6A. And another thing that Angela did when she found out about Beckham's hypotonia is she researched how to help Beckham with his hypotonia. And she blew up a pool, a baby pool, and put it in their house and put water in it. And she let Beckham play in that pool in their house because she knew that exercise in a blow-up pool was important for the hypotonia and the muscle development that he needed. And if you'll look here at this next slide, in research, hydrotherapy and hypotonia, hydrotherapy is very effective for hypotonia. Angela was not off base at all by what she was doing, even with Beckham being just 1 year old. Hydrotherapy can help with low impact exercises in the water. It can help develop both strength and flexibility. It can help build hand-eye coordination. It builds body awareness, motor skills, and the hydrotherapy with hypotonia helps find new ways for different sets of muscles to work. Another benefit of hydrotherapy is for hypotonia is moving while supported by water helps a child to learn to move and offset challenges of gravity. Since when we're under the water, we have that buoyancy effect. It really gives your body an opportunity to be in a place where it can move in ways it wouldn't otherwise be able to move. Water makes it easier for children with KAT6A to move with less effort. Okay, pardon me just a moment. I'm going to move over here. So in addition to hypotonia and the other impacts that KAT6A has on the population with KAT6A, we look at 2 additional senses that we have that oftentimes KAT6A is affected by, and that is vestibular sense and proprioceptive sense. And these are senses that control balance and movement and body awareness. And as you know, these are 2 very important things that we as parents need to be finding therapies for and sensory input for to address these particular senses in the KAT6A population. So how do we address those motor skills in children with KAT6A? There's a thing called heavy work, and it's any type of activity that pushes or pulls against the body. It can be something like swimming or vacuuming. These activities help kids with sensory processing feel centered, which means they're finding a place within their body and their muscle to feel relaxed and feel like they're in a place where their muscles are turning on so their body can go into movements it wouldn't otherwise go in. 2, heavy work also engages a sense called proprioception or body awareness, which is really important. And when we look at heavy work, there's different types of heavy work that can be done to address the proprioception or vestibular sense that is needed in KAT6A children. There's household chores that you can do, like taking out the trash, pushing the vacuum cleaner, mopping, or motions like those chores. And other options for children with KAT6A that present a need for these types of sensory input is riding a bike, playing catch, swinging on monkey bars, jumping on a trampoline, and also listed in the list of exercises that help with these things is swimming. However, when we look at the different types of exercises that can address the need for working on vestibular senses and proprioception, we have to look at the fact that heavy work isn't always the same, nor is it going to have the same effect on muscles for different children who have different needs for sensory input. So we have to look at the best ways to address those sensory need inputs for your child. Fortunately, swimming is more effective and powerful than any other heavy work. And swimming provided Beckham a heavy work sensory input that improved his body awareness and movement. It also provided sensory input that led to improved coordination for Beckham. So not only did Beckham benefit from being able to be aware of his body when he was in the water and to have smoother, relaxed body movement, he was able to have a better sense of coordination when he was on land after getting out of the water. So let's look at Beckham using a barbell during one of our swim sessions. A barbell in the water is great for heavy work because it wakes the body up. The crashing motion when you push the barbell back and pull it back towards your body creates a sense of awareness in your body to wake the body up, and it wakes up muscle tone. This is a sensory seeking activity for proprioception that helps with other muscle movement, which you definitely need when you're in the water. So let's look at some more benefits of barbell heavy work. Barbells can be used in the water to strengthen core muscles. They can be used to strengthen a back float. And with that, a barbell can be held on a child's chest when they're leaning back, and it provides just enough support for them to be able to float without an instructor's hands giving them any more assistance, which is beneficial because it's allowing their own body to practice being aware of how it feels in the water and how it can move in the water. It creates muscle memory that their body needs to connect their nervous system to their muscular system to help their body learn how to respond when it's in the water. Barbells can be used for kicking practice, which again, for heavy work, kicking is really good because it provides a crashing effect on the water with the legs, and it allows the legs to have resistance with the water. So it's building muscular strength. At the same time, it's building muscle tone. A barbell can also be used in the water to help increase balance awareness. When a child is holding a barbell and they're unassisted, and they're leaning over on top of the barbell, the water is moving, the barbell is sustaining them, but they're having to figure out how to navigate that body awareness and body movement in the water, which helps create muscle memory and balance awareness within their body. Swimming will enhance or improve the other heavy work activities for sensory input. So going back to heavy work activities that I mentioned earlier, like pushing a vacuum cleaner, or maybe jumping on a trampoline, or something sweeping or mopping, the things that require pushing and pulling or eye-hand coordination, swimming has been found to enhance those activities, especially for riding a bike. That's something that is really challenging for children who have sensory input needs that require this heavy work. Oftentimes, the dual action of leg work on the bike, moving in a forward motion or a backward motion with the hypotonia can be really challenging. Swimming can help enhance and improve that skill. Okay, let's go back to what I started with at the beginning, which is not wanting to let fear as a parent. I want to go back to my quote here. I want to read it to you guys. I want to propel parents past their fear. Learning to move past our fears in parenting can expose our children to opportunities that could allow them to live beyond their limitations. And I went back to this for a reason, because I want us to remember that swimming requires a lot of body awareness. It requires coordination. It requires breath control. It requires an inability to have body awareness that allows you to blow out of your nose, hold your breath, move your body in a way that propels you through the water. It requires a lot of coordinated body efforts. And fear is real. Thinking about a child learning to swim with KAT6A may cause a parent to have fear in letting them to try, but I want you to remember that when we move past our fears, we allow our kids to live past their limitations. When Angela and I talked about Beckham and her biggest fear for him in learning to swim, she said her top concern for Beckham was timing and coordination needed for breath control, which is a very valid fear. I can feel that as a mom. I can feel that as a swim instructor. I can feel it as just a person, because every time I go underwater with a child, I break down the process of breath control, which starts with your mouth and your nose and your eyes, right? All those things have to work together in order to go underwater successfully and come back up without choking. She has very valid reasons to be fearful, given the impact that KAT6A had on Beckham. But when we look at how swimming will enhance or improve other heavy work activities for sensory input, we know that swimming is going to help Beckham in a number of different ways. In moving past the fear of letting Beckham learn to swim, Angela had some roadblocks she had to encounter and expressed to me how thankful she was that our community had an instructor, such as myself, that was trained and qualified to teach Beckham. And I'm going to tell you, even though I was trained, I felt very, very intimidated when I taught Beckham for the first time. And I was very fearful myself that I might do something wrong. What if I forget something? What if I cause him to choke? What if his mom doesn't want to bring him back? There were a lot of my own fears as an instructor moving into teaching Beckham with such a rare impact, such a rare diagnosis that he had with KAT6A. But we all had to move past fear. Beckham had to move past the fear of getting in the water. Mom had to move past the fear of letting him learn to swim. And I had to move past my own fears of feeling disqualified, even though I was trained to teach Beckham. So as an adaptive swim instructor with all of my children, I meet them where they are with their needs. And Beckham certainly came with needs, and that's fine. All of my kids come with their own unique needs. When we teach adaptive swim in the water and we have children such as Beckham with body space awareness needs and sensory input needs, we allow that body awareness transition, which means when they get in the water, we let them feel the water with their arms. We might let them, walk around and just feel how the body moves or how the water moves around their body so that they can then feel what we call centered or grounded in the water, which helps them to feel more confident to move towards other skills that might present fear. We try to make all the hard work fun. And when I say try, we have all kinds of tricks. We have ducks, we have balls, we have smiley discs. We have all kinds of equipment that we incorporate into our adaptive swim instruction that help make it fun, because for our KAT6A kiddos, this is like another therapy session for them. And the last thing I want for my kiddos when they come to the water is to feel like it's hard work and no play. And so I incorporate a lot of work, a lot of play in the work of learning to swim. When I'm teaching my kiddos as an adaptive swim instructor, I model what is being asked of them. It's really difficult to ask a child, say, okay, I need you to go underwater for me. Show me how you go underwater. Well, that's a really difficult thing to do. So as you see in this picture, I was showing Beckham how we put wind on the water, and we break down in adaptive swim instruction the process of breath control and submerging our face in the water by first gaining confidence and control with our mouth and our breathing control, and then our nose, and then our eyes. And oftentimes I would put something in my hand and say, put your eyes on the water, which would encourage Beckham to bring his face down to the water because there's something to look at, right? And then allow him an opportunity to practice that coordinated mouth, nose, and eye control to submerge his face completely underwater. It's really about breaking down all those tasks to get it to a place where they can be successful in each of those tasks individually and then put them together, but modeling it absolutely. In my adaptive swim instruction, we celebrate all the victories. And I put on here blowing bubbles as a victory. When Beckham went underwater and I was able to get a picture of him with bubbles coming out of his nose, that was a huge victory for Beckham. a really big victory for Angela because he was succeeding in something that he'd wanted to do for so long. And it was especially a victory for me because I was able to see that the training I had received and applied was meeting the needs that Beckham had to learn to swim. So this next slide is a video of Beckham, and I'm very thankful that Angela was always poolside with me when I was teaching Beckham. She was encouraging him, she was redirecting him, she was encouraging me, and she was just always supportive in the tasks that we were working on in the water. And I'm just gonna let you guys watch this video of Beckham on his, I think this was his 4th day of swim with me. Just like Bubba. Okay, this is really hard for me to watch and not get chills, even though I've watched it so many times. But as you saw there, we had the barbell there, and we did a lot of barbell work with Beckham, where he would extend his arms out, pull the barbell back, extend it out, pull it back. He did lots of just length after length after length of that barbell pushing, which was heavy work for his body, which allowed his body to have a sensory input to engage his body in a way that it woke up the muscles he needed to be able to have body awareness and coordination to move through the water as he did when he was swimming. But as you'll notice, we also worked on his breath control. So every time we were together, we were working on different things, but at some point we'd have to put them all back together. Let's move into this next fun slide. Learning to swim has changed Beckham's life. When I talked to Angela about what has changed for Beckham, swimming is something Beckham can do better than his twin brother, and that is super fun. One thing that I really love about Angela as a mom is Beckham is a twin, and when she brought Adler, Beckham's brother, to watch him swim, Adler's first response was absolute celebration and joy for his brother. In fact, he said, "Beckham, you can do something better than me," which I love, love, love about Angela and how she parents her boys who are so different, but have been raised to celebrate each other's differences and their own successes. Water gives Beckham a place to play and be like his peers and feel normal in a space that makes Beckham feel happy. If we go back to this first photo I have of Beckham, he is clearly happy. He's happy under the water. And when he's under the water, he's getting a physiological response in his brain that makes him feel like he's getting a hug. And that's another reason why the water is so good for our kiddos with hypotonia, because that water pressure and buoyancy provides such a relief for them and creates a happy feeling for them. And they need to be happy as much as they can. Swimming and beyond with KAT6A. Let's look at what learning to swim, how learning to swim helped Beckham. One time Dad brought Beckham, and I asked him some things about Beckham and how, he felt like swimming was helping, Beckham outside the water. And even one afternoon that we were swimming, I was taking Beckham down a long lane in the pool, and there was a portion where it got deeper. And I said, "Okay, Beckham, we're going to go down to the deep end." And he had never really said many words to me about the water, just excitement or, you know, joy or frustration. But after I said, we're going to go down the deep end, he repeated after me, he said, the deep end. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, those are the strongest words I've heard him say in all the time that I have been working with him. And those were definitely new words put together that Beckham understood and that Beckham was excited about. Swimming improved Beckham's coordination. It improved his self-confidence. Swimming provided muscle tone improvement for Beckham. The day he got in the water and swam, Angela said he didn't look like he was struggling. His movements weren't halted or slow. They were natural. And that body, the release of gravity in the water for your body and the buoyancy allows your body to center itself in that place where it can move like that. Beckham also began to be able to blow his nose out of the water after several lessons of swim instruction. And this last video you're going to see is how Beckham learned to jump. Angela had shared with me several months into our swimming together that Beckham was learning to jump and it was difficult for him, and he would work on the trampoline for those leg muscles. And so several months into our time together, Beckham and I began to work on jumping from the top step of the pool we were working in. And then he would, actually we started from the bottom step, we moved to the middle step, from the top step, and he would just hold my hands and I would have him, I would say, Beckham, bend your knees, you know, and push up. You start with just bending your knees and pushing up. And then he would bend his knees and I would pull him forward. Every time we worked on jumping, his legs were getting stronger. Eventually, Beckham was able to jump on his own off the top step of my outdoor pool. And I want you guys to watch this because this is how Beckham is living beyond KAT6A with the most joy. And that is joyful for me. That video and seeing Beckham swim, it just brings so much joy to me to know that knowledge I have and the passion I have for children to have water safety instruction and water safety skills can be applied to children like Beckham with KAT6A so that they can move past the limitations that they're born with and live in happy places like Beckham. Water gives Beckham a place he feels like his peers, and he feels normal in a space that makes him have a happy feeling. I really want to continue encouraging you all as parents of KAT6A children and professionals to continue doing research to equip others to teach children to swim in the water, to teach children to swim with KAT6A safely. And that is all I have. So I think, does anybody have any questions for me?